One of the last steps that we could actually apply before beginning to shade is to also modify the particle size based on their age. If I look under the particle modifiers, I'll find the modify particle size, which uses a number of attributes such as age or age percentage and a function curve. I'll make room for another port after my set particle color. Just rearrange here a touch. And when I'm modifying the particle size, if I double click, you'll notice that it allows me to use a source parameter such as age, age percentage, the current time, or another value. And I can use that to drive the size over time. So size or time is represented on the vertical or horizontal bar here, while the size is represented vertically. So at birth, we can see we start with a small size, and as time increases, our particles scale up. And the scale is, of course, driven by a multiplier. So we are taking our randomized size, and we're now able to run those through our size multiplier. So what I could actually do here is take this size down a little bit, the end size. I don't want the particles quite so thick when it's their turn to die. But I also want the birthing particles to be a little larger proportionally. So they have some overlap so that the shader will actually work. I think something like that will work out pretty well. And if I wanted to multiply their size, I have complete control over that with my multiplier. But I think a default value of 1 should work out nicely. I'm also going to apply a slight amount of spin to the particles, just so that I can get the shaders working properly as well. The idea of smoke is that it's quite turbulent, or steam is that it's quite turbulent, and we might get some movement within the smoke, some rotational movement within the smoke. So we can just add a small amount of spin. I'm actually going to leave the value of the spin to the default, which is tumble, and I'm just going to use a very, very slow spin rate, just a randomized spin rate, of course. You'll notice if the particles emit now, they're moving a little too fast. So if I take the spin rate to even say 0.1, that might be slow enough. And of course, I would randomize around that. I'll randomize that by a range. And if my rate is 0.1, then I will set the minimum to 0.05 and the maximum to 0.2. Maybe just a little slower than that, 0.15. Okay. I'm also going to add an additional control on the add forces to allow for a wind direction. I've got this drag force slowing them down right now, but what if the wind changes direction and I want to be able to direct that from outside of my character? I'll use a control object for that, a control object wind. My wind at the moment is moving in the positive X direction. I'll hit F3 or even take it from my Explorer, drag it in, and use its vector value as an add force input. So we got our particles moving out to the side now. And now I've got greater control over that. Of course, the particles are moving a lot farther than I want them to because of my wind velocity. I could lower the wind velocity, and the particles aren't going to go quite so far. Okay, so I think we're good here. Let's look at beginning the shading process now. So I've got a fairly simple ice tree. It might be useful to just go in and create some quick comments just to kind of organize the tree a little better. But after that, go on and start controlling the render tree compounds.